Hey, it's Rager, and so welcome back. Back-to-back videos for me, 2 days in a row. You haven't seen that in a while, so I do want to kick back into this in the crypto market because things could be looking pretty good right now for Bitcoin and crypto in general. And so, as always, nothing is financial advice, but I want to go ahead, look at the Bitcoin chart. And then another thing is that on occasion, people ask me, how do you find things early? And so that's specifically with altcoins, low caps, memes, that kind of thing. And it does take a bit of research. I can show you, a couple of things that you can look at as far as trying to get in potentially early. Will you hit those 100, 500, 1000 X's? I don't know, but it is a way to try to find things early. And so I'll talk about that on this video. We'll go ahead and get into Bitcoin and look at what that's doing. But overall, Bitcoin's looking not too bad here. And so when I was making a video last, we saw this red 4-hour candle close and it was pretty ugly. But the funny thing is that was actually the bottom. And I said on the video, I said, what we're looking for is for this right here to basically just make a higher low. And that's what it did. And so not to panic. If it did, the only way you're going to really panic, maybe cut a position is if it broke back below the 112K mark, which it did not do. It hit as low as, 112,600, but it's got to hit below that and continue on down about 107 to 109K. And again, that's why you take it day by day, level by level. And it's never a bad thing to hold some spots. So with Bitcoin overall, what you're going to see is that breaking above the longer term range here, okay, which acted as support earlier in the past couple of months. But if you were to go ahead and zoom in like on the 15-minute chart, what you're going to notice is that basically it just retested the local high and it rejected there. Now, it doesn't mean that it won't go back up because again, what Bitcoin is doing on the lower time frames anyway is trending up. It had a nice pump candle there. It's trending up, even though there's a rejection. That's to be expected because again, you have low time frame traders, scalpers, that kind of thing. You're going to take profits there in general. It's going to move back and forth, even if it's a trend up. It's not going to go straight up. So overall, if it gets back above 115K here, 700, I think what we're going to see is potentially a retest of the area of 17K to 118K to 117K. When Bitcoin starts to go up in value, it's really hard to say 117,000. It's just easier to say 117, 118. So I do think potentially, like I said before yesterday, that's the area that you want to close above. If it can't do that, again, it rejected off this high. So will we get like another higher low and an up? We could potentially do that. So don't get shaken out if this for any reason pulls back here. I did add a little bit more to my spot positioning and it's not a lot. And so just slowly adding dollar cost averaging as we see a potential trend up here. And if it does pull back, I am thinking that as long as it breaks above 115, 700, 800, it's going to hit the 117, 118 mark. So with that said, that's what you want to watch for Bitcoin because this is just basically ranging here. And now as it ranges, Ethereum is actually doing pretty well. As you notice that same thing, it follows Bitcoin for the most part, but it's been outperforming Bitcoin. This is the weekly ETH BTC chart. And so basically this compares Ethereum strength to Bitcoin. And so we did see the lows back in April, back when we bottomed out in crypto overall. And so we haven't seen a move like this. We had kind of a small term move in May of last year, but we haven't seen a significant move since June of 2022. So that's a very long time for Ethereum to go down against Bitcoin, which says, as you know, if you've been in crypto historically, you're going to have these alt season runs where you have Ethereum, Solana, a lot of altcoins outperform Bitcoin dominance. I talked about that on last video. Potentially, we could see it bounce and then go back lower. So if Bitcoin does run, initially what happens is it runs a little bit harder than altcoins, and then Ethereum and altcoins, those things catch right back up with it as it goes sideways. But if Bitcoin continues to move sideways here, you can also expect some outlier altcoins to move up. And so if you're looking to trade, that's something you're looking at. But overall, Ethereum on the weekly chart right here against Bitcoin looks pretty good. The daily definitely looks good right here. It looks like you could break above 0.32 and can move on up. So look for some strength in Ethereum. Solana as well does not look as strong as Ethereum against Bitcoin. So if you were to look at the winner here, Solana or Ethereum, it's probably going to be Ethereum, a little bit stronger than Solana, but it is moving up slowly but surely against Bitcoin as well. So Solana is one of those things where I think that it can still go and hit all-time highs. Everyone uses Solana. That's where everyone trades low cap coins at. That is where you're going to have the most volume, and it just, looks good overall. So now let's go back to the altcoins, meme coins. And so recently we had Lizard breakout here. So Lizard is kind of a trending TikTok meme. It's been pretty popular this past week or two. And so you even saw Binance US tweet about it. And then you saw some of the Bonk team tweet about it and other people follow it. So this is the Lizard that launched on Bonk Fund. And so naturally, they're going to have a little bit of backing of the Bonk Fund. Love the Bonk Fund, love the Bonk team. Know those guys, great guys overall. Really trying to build a great ecosystem overall for the industry and space. But Lizard on Bonk Fund is the one winning right now. It's doing really well, a hit up to around 11 million. And so if you keep up with TikTok trends, if you keep up with trending memes in general, typically that's going to allow you to get in a little bit early than some people. And so, looking at those types of trends, one thing that you can actually look at is to know your meme, right? So know your meme. And then if you were to hit the database there, Know Your Meme is actually a pretty helpful website, which they do keep up with trends. And you're going to actually see over the past 3 days, they came out with an article that talked about trends. And of course, what do you know? We've had a few of these altcoins that have done pretty well. And you see a story that was around 5 days ago, the lizard. And so 5 days ago, 3 days ago, you could have got into Lizard a lot lower than today. You could have got in at 600 to 800K market cap. So that would have put you up as high as, a 10 to 15X overall. So that's one way that I tend to look at things. So you can do a few different things. You can actually go to TikTok and search in the search bar, or click the search bar, whether it's in the app or online. There's trending things in TikTok as well too, with discoveries that you can find. But if you want to be early, TikTok, these types of last year or so, Chill Guy was pretty popular on a TikTok trend. Currently, things like Lizard are, and you can go and hit the trends. And so the Salary Woman, of course, she was pretty popular for a while, I think. A little harder to meme individual humans. Often it has to be some type of character or belief or movement. Those are like the two things. And you can even see with like Murad, talking about SPX. But then there's also other things that he's talked about, like, Giga. I guess it's some form of a movement, but again, some type of character. Giga Chad is probably like the only individual human that I've seen really take off as a meme. But in general, most of the time it has to be some type of character. Bongo the cat, I've been like a CTO for a long time. I really support that. I've recently supported, the WOJAK, just because it's a top 3 crypto culture meme with Pepe and Doge. I'll talk about that later. And, our belief system, again. So a belief system or a character. Sydney Sweeney, again, she's had one to take off that up, in general, because I know that these have been too. Of course, not as much appropriate. This is a PG show, PG-13, excuse me. But she's had one that took off and hit around 11 million. So that looked pretty good. Again, the Salary Woman, not so much. And then let's go back to the weekly. And then pretty funny. And then in general, this looks kind of stupid. Yeah, Togor looks kind of like an individual that could potentially be memeable in crypto. And so we'll maybe check that out in a minute, because that's on a trend. It looks kind of funny, looks weird. That's something that crypto people would like. UK online safety. I don't know about that. Some old memes, but related entries. So yeah, Togor, Lizard, Japanese salary woman, and Sydney Sweeney. So go ahead and look that up. We know that Lizard, there's been quite a few of those. I don't even know how to spell this. So let's go to Pump and check it out. So you can go to Pump Fun. And so what I'm basically just saying is you can go to a site like Know Your Meme, search what's related, what's been hot in the weekly, what's trending. And then from there, what you can do is you can go to something like Pump Fun or Bonk Fun and actually go in here, copy, paste, and you're going to view results. And so Togor, there's been a few of these, but they're all around 4.8K. So that's not bad. You can also go to Bonk Fun do as well. What you're going to notice is that you've got some different ones that are around the same price. So these are basically at the bottom. If you do think that this is a good meme, which I think specifically at looking at this, that it's a little bit more memeable than the salary woman. But to find a meme that's trending on TikTok that maybe hasn't taken off yet in crypto, this is one way that you can actually do it. Now, whether you get a 100K of 100K, 100X, a 500X, a 1000X, even a 10X sometimes can be good, but it doesn't take a lot of capital. If you do find trends, if you go on TikTok and find trends in general, you can actually look those up on Pump Fun, on Bonk Fun. You could maybe even be a creator of the coin, right? Of the token. And bottom line, if you can get in at the bottom and see if it takes off, if you're one of the first creators of a token, or if you actually find, so like this had one 8 days ago, 2 of these, and I think that the pump had more like 7 days, 9 hours, 23 hours. I'm not going to buy anything that's 2 hours old, that's 23 hours. I'm going to buy the thing that's 7 days old. I'm going to buy the thing that sticks out, that stands out. I'm going to buy the thing that's 8 days old here. Even though this is maybe a little bit more memeable, this character. In general, that's what I would buy, and I'll probably put in a few dollars in each of these to see how they do. And I know what you're saying. You're probably like, well, now you're talking about it, so it's going to go up. I mean, every meme. Like, somebody has to talk about every meme. Now, it's not up to me whether something becomes popular or not. Again, with Lizard, somebody had to talk about Lizard. And eventually what happens is bigger audiences end up talking about things or giving ideas or giving a thesis, like I did with the WOJAK. Somebody has to talk about it and share a thesis. In general, if something is trending and has yet to take off in crypto, it could be a potentially good trade idea. Don't know how it goes. The name Togor and the weird character here is it's kind of funny. So we'll see if Togor becomes a household name. Now, outside of Togor, let's go to some other things that I talked about, and that's specifically with WOJAK. It looks like it's bottomed out after a dip here, 50%. 50% dip, 10 million to 5 million, good opportunity. I tweeted about it earlier saying like, hey guys, suck it up. Stop selling stuff under 10 million. That's just worldwide known memes such as WOJAK. I do hold WOJAK, so I'm totally biased when I said that. Some of that was just kind of memeing and being funny, what I said a minute ago. But, bottom line, WOJAK is huge. And let me go ahead and share with you why. Oh, look at Binance. Multiple times, Binance has tweeted about WOJAK. Binance, Wall Street Bets, Dark Farms, OKX has also tweeted Elon Musk. Look, WOJAK from Elon. So it just goes to show you that there have been a ton of people, especially big accounts, such as this right here, right? 2.9K likes. I just retweeted this, 6.9K likes with the no sleep, the memes detect. That's crypto culture. And notice who is the central of crypto culture. That would be WOJAK in the center there. So you got Binance actually putting WOJAK in the center of crypto culture. As I've said before on this week's video, Doge, Pepe, WOJAK is crypto culture. There is no reason why this should not be, 50 to 100 million market cap. I'm biased. I do hold some. Sonic Labs also retweeted memes under WOJAK. So WOJAK, it's just a big potential opportunity. I think 6 million is low. Again, some people would say, well, it's pumped quite a bit. If you look on 5 to 15 minute time frames, it's actually looking pretty good right here. As I say, it's hard to buy into a pump. So yeah, if you're buying into the 10 million mark, you waited for the 50% pullback. That's typically what I tend to do when I try to get into memes. So I don't tend to care what price I get in memes. A lot of times, as long as it's a good entry. So for instance, something could pump to 50 million market cap, but if it pulls back to 30 million market cap, and I think it's going to go to 100, 200, 300 market cap, then it's a good buy. Same way, like, you don't necessarily have to get in under 1 million market cap, right? Like my entry here wasn't under 1 million, it was higher up, where I dollar cost average it up, and I talked about. So, if you think that something's going to go higher, again, entry is probably the most important thing relative to market. Yes, if you get in a lower market cap, you're going to have bigger return. But in the end, if it's going to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100x from there, it's not necessarily a bad buy. Or if you think that, you have to have belief in conviction in general. But WOJAK, center of attention, center of crypto culture here. It's even said so by Binance themselves. So I do think that WOJAK is doing pretty good. Troll pulled back as well, a decent pullback for Troll. And so as you know, a lot of the Troll whales, those who hold the most Troll, also are some of the biggest wallets in WOJAK. So it's pretty cool how that happened. And so we had around a 30% pullback here, and it looked pretty strong. 27 million overall for volume over the past 24 hours for Troll. So look for it to do well. Look for it to continue on up. If I were to go to, CoinGecko, and again, go back to the categories of memes, you're going to notice that, there's just so much upside when it comes to memes, and where certain ones are sitting right now. Some minds are going back to the older, well-known memes are the ones that we should potentially be in, and those should be higher market caps. And so again, old school memes, Pepe and, Bonk and Doge, and some of these other ones are, slowly moving up overall. But Cheems, etc. But there's a ton of memes out there, and some of these are just not even well known. Mini Doge, like, how is that 150 mil? I mean, what is that even? And again, not to take away from those holding it who bought it, it's just a clone of Dogecoin, right? So being original always, I think, is a really good thing. Again, I'm the CTO of Bongo, which currently sits around 10 million market cap, and so an old meme that wasn't launched on a launch pad, that's from 2018, that's massive, globally known, and I continue to be bullish on it. But in general, there's a lot of room to wipe away right here, is what I'm trying to say. I think that there's some really good memes out there, and I'm very honest that I think can take over in this top 100. All you have to hit is, above 36 million. And so, yes, I think that some of these memes that really nobody can relate with, in my personal opinion, aren't very well known, can certainly be wiped off this page for some well-known memes such as we've recently saw, such as Troll. And so I'm glad that Troll is on here. And I think that we should see WOJAK on here as well, because I think that it does belong in the category of Dogecoin, Pepe, even, whether it's Dog with Hat, Mogcoin. I certainly think that WOJAK should be above Dog with Hat, which is at 900 million right now. But it's a slow, but over time, it's a slow process, because Troll just didn't get to 160 million overnight. It's been out for a few months now. It rode the wave of 10 to 15 million for a while, hit up as high as 20 million, and then 16 all the way up to 200 million over the course of the last few weeks. So to get that mind share, it takes some time. But Troll is a great meme. I hope that it goes to 1 billion. I have no Troll, but my thought process is that if that does well, I think old memes in general that actually deserve to have its place written on the wall of top memes in crypto should go up as well. And that's including stuff like WOJAK, and a lot of the other old memes. So that's just my thought process when it comes to memes right now. That's my process. If you want to know more about getting in early, there's other strategies as well, of course, other tools that you can use, but most people aren't very savvy technologically. This, you can do some manual research, actually looking up TikTok trends, looking up today in internet culture, what is popular, and take a stab, see if there's anything that stands out. Like we talked about the one today, if it's sub 100K, maybe you put a flyer on it, maybe you put a little soul in. This is the type of stuff that you can do when it comes to research, to knowing memes, to trying to get in early. And of course, just watching online, because anytime Elon talks about anything, there tends to be an uptick and or a meme coin. Yeah, but in general, that's just one way that you can find memes early, is using a site such as this. And then I'll probably in the next video go into more details on some other memes worth watching, I think, in the future here. So, of course, with the popularity of old school memes, I think that those could take off. And so I'll be diving and looking into older memes that I think could do well overall in the next few days. So with that said, you guys, Bitcoin doing okay, just trending sideways here, and we want to see a break above, like I said, 116K to get up to 117 to 118K, retest that area, see if we can break above. If not, this goes to a higher low, nothing to be fear about. The only thing that I'm worried about, in general, cutting positions perhaps, is to see a break below 112, and then from there, potentially the 107 to 109K. If it hits that, could be overall, could be not a great thing. We could probably go sideways for a few weeks until September, and then September run up. So in general, that's just what I'm watching, taking it day by day, week by week. So with that said, you guys trade safe. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.